Hello. This is an overview video, and I want to kind of get myself back into it, make sure my microphones are working and all the screens are working and all that kind of stuff. So it will be short. And by the way, I am changing my I guess my videos for the future. I'm going to do everything I can to keep my videos in probably under 15 minutes. That's my goal. And to not bleed over into a half hour, 45 minutes, or an hour. Unless at some point, I mean, I'm not locking myself into it, but that's kind of my thing. I've even set a timer at about 13 minutes so that I know when to start winding down. I just feel like it's more if it's better off for you. People's time is valuable, and I want to um, I, I guess term respect that, but at the same time, anybody can watch things anytime they want to. But my goal is to just make it as efficient as possible. Um, some of the things I am going to talk about in the future that I want to just kind of give an oversight to. I want to get into, but when I say this, I want to get into some things related to church history. However, I don't want to get into it as though I'm teaching church history. My purpose and what I feel my calling is to relate it specifically to today, something that's tangible, something that's real, that has to do with things going on today. I do also want to start talking about some things relating to other religions, various groups of people, and to kind of set the stage for going into detail about certain other religious beliefs, while at the same time uh, comparing and contrasting it to Christian teaching, Christian beliefs. In addition to, I am going to go back over and swing through. Sometimes I'm going to limit it, but sometimes I will get into the politics of the day, but not to do political blah. That's not my thing. What I really want to do is, and if you see some of my political posts, you will note that most of the time I am speaking to Christians because that is the scope of what I believe my calling is. It is not to people who do not claim to be Christians. It is the scope is for Christians and for those who believe or claim to be in the church. And the reason why we must get into some of these things is the relevance of what it actually means to be a Christian in these days that we live in, and why things are so different. Things are so, there are so many different beliefs out there. And what we want to do is get to fundamental teachings, but at the same time, not have it be boring over and over and over again, just the same thing. But I do want to reiterate, and I'll say it right now, the doctrine that I teach, the doctrine that I preach, I am called to both preach and teach. The doctrine that I preach and teach is the cross of Jesus Christ. And what that means in the nutshell is Jesus Christ came to earth. He lived a real life. He was a human. He was not a spirit entity. He was not just a concept. He was a real human being. And at some point in time, about 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ was crucified by a real government called the Roman Empire. He was crucified under the leadership of Pontius Pilate, who was the procurator of the area where Jesus Christ preached and taught. And so from there, I want to reiterate that the doctrine that I teach and preach is not something I deviate from. That being said, I'm going to get into some things that are that in standard Christianity for the last, I don't know how many years might even get into centuries. Some of the things I'm going to talk about will be a little bit controversial, but I do want to reiterate that we will always come back to the doctrine of the cross and the resurrection. And here's my statement, and I've said it many, many, many times, and I'll say it again. Everything can go by the wayside as far as my beliefs. My beliefs are up for grabs. And I'm gonna put a little check mark by that and come back to this. Inside of the scope of my Christian faith, anything is challengeable inside of the scope of my Christian faith, but I will always bounce back to the cross and the resurrection of Jesus Christ as the doctrine that I preach and the doctrine that I teach. And it's not just, oh, Jesus died and he rose from the dead. It's the fact that that very nature of that doctrine literally permeates into our lives. And it applies to every aspect of our lives if we let it do so. So that is why I speak, very clearly in this regard. Now, Jesus made some statements. Whoever does not deny himself and take up his cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Now, what does that mean? Everybody's supposed to go be crucified? Everybody's supposed to carry a wooden cross around? No. And we'll get into these things in the future. Does it mean that, let's see. I lost my train of thought on that one. So so when I say I'm going to get into some things, I'm going to talk about the Bible itself, and I'm going to talk about some things that are very evident to anybody who does deep research into the scriptures. And the things that, like for example, things being added to the Bible, certain words, certain phrases, certain stories, various things like that. And I'm going to talk about these openly and honestly because in my viewpoint, there is nothing that we cannot talk about in the scope of our beliefs. Because if we can't talk about them, it means that we ourselves don't believe strong enough in what it is that we stand for. And so what I'm interested in is building a solid foundation that we don't have to shy away from, and also be able to answer people who attack it. Okay, now outside of the scope of Christianity, I am willing to even put the cross on the cross. Meaning, if somebody wants to challenge, I know at this point in time a number of, for example, Muslim people who believe in a totally different religious structure and system. And they challenge the very element of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. They also challenge our Bible. Very, very, it's one of the fundamental beliefs. And I would say, I lack of a better term, not to say attack, that I'd rather say, what would I say? What's the right word to say? The defenses of Islam versus Christianity. There many times their defenses of Islam versus Christianity are elements of corruption in the Bible. And I want to talk about these things as well. And I am not going to do it coming from a perspective that I know everything there is to know about Islam. Islamic people who've been studying Islam for their whole life would put me to shame, and I am not going to pretend. But what I will do is that we will start digging into some things. For example, various elements of Islamic belief. And I'll do my best to be accurate and do my best to do it in such a way that even a Muslim watching would hopefully either be forgiving if they see me make a mistake. It would be an honest mistake. If they see me say something, you know, that's a little off, that they would understand that I am a person learning in progress relating to those types of things. I will also continue on Bible prophecy, various discussions relating to that. And one of the fundamental things that, I had something in my mind, but I'm not. My video is coming close to an end here. I've got 2 minutes left before I hit my 13 minutes, and then I got 2 minutes to bring it down. I'm pretty open and transparent on the videos I do. I like to do live streaming. I don't know that someday if I'm going to, you know, do these in the background and then edit them or whatever. I just don't have the energy. I don't have the time. I would rather come on, do a video live stream, talk to you directly at that moment, at that place, at that time, and then you know, you determine whether this is valuable information for you or not. I'm going to flip the cameras around real quick, just so that at the end of the video, when I will go back and rewatch this, I can see that everything's working right, that the sound is working in all the videos. So it'll just take a second here. I'm going to go to my drawing screen, and I'm going to say hello. I'm going to put my hand over here, and I'm going to go to my Bible screen, and I'm going to put my hand over here, a little less speedy, I can see. And it looks like the camera's working up in the corner. It appears like that, and I'm hoping the sound is working as well. That's my goal, is that each of these screens has the sound working. This is the full screen, where if I'm happen to be over here and I'm going to close out a video, I may just turn it to the full screen, which is a side view, where I'll look at you square on and talk to you from a different angle in the room that I'm in. And then I've also got a upper screen on my computer, where if I do want to do some screen sharing, I can. And I've got a lower screen. And like I said, I'm making sure that the mouse is not the mouse, but that the audio will work in each of the screens and all that stuff. I'm trying to just get it set up for the future. And it looks like I got 48 seconds to go, and I'm going to close this video out early as a start. And I am going to try to let me go back to, where's my main screen, full camera, there it goes. I'm going to try to keep it short in all circumstances. I'm going to try to come up with little segments that I hope will be a little piece of, obviously today was not that great of value, but I'm reintroducing myself after a break of a lot of things going on in our lives, our household. We had a big, huge upheaval in furniture moving and various things over the last few weeks, and I had to tear all this down and rebuild it again and all that stuff. So there's just been a lot of things. Oh, my little timer went off, and I am down to my 2-minute warning as far as I'm concerned. So it's the last 2 minutes of the game. So anyway, I hope this obviously was probably not that beneficial, but thank you for hanging out with me if you did, and I hope that in the future you hang out with me some more. And had somebody suggest that I put this, maybe start doing some TikTok as well, and I'm open to all the areas. Let's put it this way: I'm not a big promoter of the things I do, and to be quite honest, it's purposeful that I'm that way. I want this to be organic, and I want people to watch it who it's meant to be watched. And so I'm not, once in a while I will boost a post, put a little bit extra, put a little bit of money into it, boost it out there and stuff like this, so that if people tend to want to watch it, you know, it might increase some audience or something like that. But I am not trying to do something mega here. I'm simply trying to put teachings on videos that are archived and don't get deleted, and that happens to be YouTube, not Facebook. So that's why I'm doing this. God bless you, and I will talk to you soon. I may have another teaching later. I don't know for sure, where I'll get into real stuff, not just kind of this blah blah, where I'm doing multiple cameras and trying to just see if everything's up and running right. The reason I did it, I'm probably at my 15 and I keep on jabbering on. The reason I did this is because I have done so many videos where there was no audio in certain screens and stuff, and the whole thing was wasted. It was just trash. And I'd go on for an hour or so. In future, I hope that doesn't happen because I'm only going to do 15 minutes. So if I lose something, it's only going to be that short.